for me, to thrive as a young adult, knowing your support system for me. I think a lot of young people think about money, but sometimes your biggest support as a young adult will be your support system, your family and friends, because you never know what can happen.
Welcome to 10 years of long-term, life-changing legacy of Elevate, a special series celebrating a decade of impact with Elevate Indianapolis. Since 2015, we've built long-term, life-changing relationships with urban youth, equipping them to thrive and contribute in their communities. In this series, you'll hear the powerful voices of alumni whose lives and legacies tell one story: no one gets there alone.
Welcome. My name is Aaron Story, and the president and CEO of Elevate Indianapolis. Today, we continue our series. It has been part of our 10th year anniversary series of long-term, life-changing legacies is our theme this year. And continuing our series of podcast and videocast focusing on Elevate alumni. So we've had a series of George Washington and Arsenal Tech alumni as part of this series to celebrate these thriving contributors on their journey towards growth and health and progress that have been an important part of our story of Elevate Indianapolis. I'm joined with, as you've seen this past podcast as well, great co-host, another alumni.
My name is Calvin Washington. I graduated from George Washington High School in May 2025, class 2025, and I will be graduating from IU in 2029.
Dang. At and from George Washington?
Washington, right. And then from Washington too.
Here we are. Thanks, Calvin. Good to have you with us again. And we have a special guest as well, our alumni. So you want to introduce yourself, tell a little bit here, and then we get started.
Hi, I'm Mariana. I am a Arsenal Tech graduate of 2022, which is crazy to say. I'm currently at UIndy, University of Indianapolis. I am a senior, and I'll be graduating in May of 2026.
Wow. A senior in college.
I know, you're old.
Yeah, you're old. We're old.
I'm still in my 20s.
I know. I'm almost. So let's do a little bit just for our folks they're listening or watching that don't know you and haven't maybe seen you in past videos or pictures. It's been a while since you graduated. So you're in college. Obviously, you graduated. But what's this season of life look like before we go back to ask you kind of where you grew up and how you grew up, what your family looks like? You're in college for what?
I'm in college for elementary education with a minor in child and youth programming.
Elementary ed. Okay, that's exciting. So senior year education major, UIndy. That's exciting. So tell everybody, where'd you grow up? Were you born here? Have you been raised here? What side of the city you lived on? All of those things so our folks know.
So I am from the south side of Indy. I grew up in Fountain Square. I went to all the schools that's local.
Where'd you go to schools growing up?
So 39, I went over here off of State, which is school 39, which is William McKinley. For middle school, I went over off of 10th at Harshman Middle School, and then I went to Tech.
So 39 to Harshman to Tech.
Yep.
South side. So yeah, this is like home to you as we're in Fountain Square shooting.
Yep. Down the street, literally.
Down the street.
On Hoyt.
So what's family life like? Who'd you grow up with? I know family's important to you, but help our just audience here get to know your family a little bit.
So I grew up with two older siblings, an older brother, older sister, a single mother for most of my life until my stepdad came into our lives, who helped raise us. And then my grandma and my grandpa, are mostly who's in my close family.
Yeah. Calvin, what do you want to ask?
What childhood experience or moment shaped you the most, and how did it change you?
Childhood experiences. I know it's been so long ago, but what comes to mind?
It would have to be from elementary when I was in and out of the hospital due to medical issues. From that, just realizing that you never know anyone's story, like that is a big one. Even for me going in as a teacher, like you don't know what these kids are going through. A lot of my teachers didn't know what I was going through unless I said something. I was born with something called hydronephrosis, so I had an enlarged kidney. So I was in and out of the hospital all the time. It just shows that like you can persevere for sure. I fought really hard for myself when I was able to be into school all the time, along with my family fighting with me if I needed anything. But just knowing that, like, no matter what happens, like, you can persevere if you continue and you know what you want to do.
Wow. Yeah, and obviously we've talked about this over the years and I've heard this story a number of times. Think about it, even in high school. You're in high school too. So share it with folks and we'll come back to the questions. How did you connect to Elevate? So what was that connection? How long ago was it?
Too many years.
Two hands worth.
I think, going on 10, I think. So my older sister, she's a year older than me. When she was in middle school, she was part of Elevate.
Was she at Harshman too?
She was at Harshman, yes. So she was part of Elevate in middle school, and then when she went to high school, she was still part of Elevate. But when I was in middle school, so when she was in high school, I was that tag-along sibling all the time for a lot of things sometimes, unless she didn't want me to. But tagging along with her, I got to know a lot of the old staff, including you, Aaron. And then once I got into high school, I was in every single class, would always stop by even when I didn't have the class.
Yeah.
So
older sister, you plugged in, kind of following her with your Harshman, came into tech as well. So good family connection. What do you want to ask here, Calvin?
Tell me what your life looks like right now in the head.
Yeah, what else describe your life? Now you're in college, but what else is going on now? And then we can think about kind of future-oriented questions. What's your senior year?
Work, school, family, etc.
Family, if we're starting with family is like we're all close. I'm the youngest one of 3. I have a niece and a nephew now. They're my rocks or my solids. I don't know if I would be able to do it. It is a lot of work. Sadly, I do not get to coloring pages all day and teach colors, Sadly,
when you were in high school, when you were growing up, did you think it was like education major, light work, just coloring pages?
No.
Did you think that, or did you know better, really?
No, I definitely knew better. I always wanted to be a teacher since I was younger. So in elementary, I did plenty of projects about it. Same in middle school. So I knew I was going to go in and be like, oh my gosh, I get to do a coloring page. So I knew that wasn't going to happen, but I was not. I don't think anyone is actually ever truly prepared for how much work education majors do and how much of it that it requires us to do it outside of school and on the weekends. So truly, if it wasn't for my family, it would be hard to do it by myself. So like from like the beginning of my college journey, it was a little harder for me as I had got in my car accident and had like a bunch of medical issues that popped up after it, from having the severe concussion, having to find a last minute school. You remember that?
I remember that.
Deciding still going to Ball State. So like truly, and then transferring back home. So like truly, I don't know if I would be able to do it without my family. Work. I've only ever worked for non-for-profits. That is kind of like my biggest problem right now, because I feel like I've worked at a lot of them already. So being able to still be connected with you guys is always like, I know this is my place. This is my safe community. Especially even when it comes to you, Aaron. Like I know I'd randomly text you and be like, hey, just to check up or if I ever need anything. School, I'm so excited. I'm starting my student teaching journey, which is a lot of work and very intimidating. I'm with 4th grade, and they're quite annoying sometimes, but I truly love it. But I think my biggest one is like my support system, whether that's my family, but even my community outside of my family, which includes like you and Garza, and everyone around me. So
it's awesome. So that's a good segue too, is thinking about, remember, when you were in some of the Elevate classes, I know you to your point of growing up as a kid, always thought about education, but one of the things that became really clear to you was this idea of being a teacher in Elevate. Can you talk about that class and that experience? Because a lot of our folks wouldn't know that how really teaching heavy we are.
Yes.
For students specifically.
Yes. I feel like you guys give us a lot of that opportunity to even experience something. I know plenty of people that went through our class, which is, I think it's Elevator that works with the kids.
Little Elevate.
Yep. So they do Little Elevator, and I know a lot of kids that were like, oh my gosh, like, I actually love the idea of being in front of kids and teaching, and that made like where they thought they wasn't going to go to college. So that aspect I feel like really like helps things out when it comes to like helping someone try to figure out, like, you not only take us to different college and career trips, but like with that aspect, we get to see that and firsthand and actually experience it. And I love that idea. I mean, for me, I knew it, like, I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I'm good here. But like, I also knew like there was people in my group that's like, okay, like, I'm not sure about this. But it gave my group the reassurance of like, okay, she knows what she's doing. She understands it. If I have questions, let me ask. But it wasn't like I have to go directly to the teacher and ask also, because it's like, I know someone that can do it. So I truly, really love that experience of even just getting to know the little ones. My first class in Elevator, they're middle schoolers now, which is, they actually just went into their freshman year of high school. And when I seen them, I was like, oh my gosh. So it's kind of weird because I'm like, you guys are just babies. But just seeing those kids, because we're all in the same community for a while, seeing those kids go from like 9 years old to 15 is crazy. But
yeah, and there's probably some of them, I mean, to your point as a freshman, you know, as some of them are freshmen now there's probably some of them that are in Elevate classes now.
Yeah.
That were 4th, 5th, 6th graders that when you were doing Little Elevate, and obviously, Calvin, you've done that over the years as well at George Washington. So we think of our pipeline, how we start those relationships is really through taking our high school students to teach character, life skills, leadership skills. To now we do 3rd through 6th grade. It depends on what the school is. So now they're in high school. Some of them are going to be in Elevate classes, and their first exposure was you being their teacher mentor, right? As you had a teacher mentor. So pretty cool to think about it. I know you feel old, but it's part of the goal is that, those pipeline of long-term relationships is so important to us. I'm going to ask a couple other questions about just your Elevate experience, and I want to move forward and let Calvin ask that first question, kind of springing out of that. But go back to your high school time, obviously middle school too, but talk about high school. Who were some of those just deep relationships and teacher mentors you have? Just shout them out. But then also, what are some of the experience you look back? What was the most influential times or moments you had that you feel like your Elevate kind of core memories, so to speak, whether it be people or experiences, and then we'll kind of spring forward to the future.
So my mentors directly off the top of my head is Amanda, which is Miss Garza.
Miss Garza, yeah.
And Bralyn. Those were my two main teachers, and I truly keep in contact with them as much as I can all the time. But they are definitely another group of rocks, along with yourself, obviously. And then Jackson and Amy
awesome.
From the admin side have definitely been like another big support and rock when it comes to the Elevate community. Even through high school and college, they made sure to know who people was. And I think for me, I was able to build really big relationships. Thinking about a moment, I would have to say, I don't even remember when it was. I think my senior year when I was working with you guys, or was like a volunteer. I'm not sure.
Internship stuff?
Yeah. I was working side by side with Jackson. And I learned so much from Jackson. I'm like, okay, like, this is interesting. But some of the stuff that Jackson taught me, I still use to this day in my classroom. So it's like moments like that. That's like, I look back and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad Jackson made sure that I knew exactly what I was doing and not just going through it. So I think using things like that.
Huge. And probably had a little bit of fun along the way in high school and all sorts of other moments too with Elevate. And so
Always.
those are great. But I'm glad you shared. That's an interesting, out of all your years of time with Elevate, you shared really core college and career mentoring, like just helping you level up to be the young lady you are now. And we had a lot of fun along the way too, but that's important, right? And so Calvin, transition us out though. What's kind of springing forward to the next kind of focus area? What's a question you want to throw out to Mariana? Give her a challenge here.
What does it mean to thrive as a young adult?
Ooh. For me, to thrive as a young adult, knowing your support system for me. I think a lot of young people think about money. Like as a thriving youth, adult, like I have to have money. I have to have everything organized. But sometimes your biggest support as a young adult will be your support system, your family and friends, because you never know what can happen. So I'd say your support system for me.
It's good. So you're really saying is there's no thriving without knowing and engaging in your support system.
Yeah.
Thanks. Which is really good. It's interesting, just to your point. We still have more interviews to do as part of this series, but nobody in the series so far has said money as the primary one. You might talk about want to be economically stable and whatnot, but nobody has shared, and the alumni has shared that making as much money as possible is their primary goal.
Yeah.
And so I really, that obviously speaks to you and your character, but also just the core of what it means to be a thriving contributor is bigger than just what your economic value and worth is.
Even right? Just like when it comes to it, like your people that's around you, your energy, like what do you bring to the table, but also what is everyone else around you bringing to the table? Because as you grow up, it's the people that's at your table that's going to help you the most and help you succeed and thrive. So whether that's in any way. So.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good segue to something Calvin had shared earlier. One of his mentors offered him, and I'm going to toss this back to you. When we asked him the question, what is kind of one piece of knowledge you want to pass on, that if you would kind of pass on the next generation, he had shared that a mentor really emphasized to him, kind of, you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. And we talked about that a little bit, but just really, it's a lot of ways who's at your table really goes a long way to what that future looks like. Yeah. And so you thinking about this question, if there's one thing you would say, I'm going to pass this on to, whether it be by taking an Elevate class next week, all these freshmen, sophomores that maybe you had in third, fourth grade or whatnot, or your younger family or siblings or cousins or whatnot, what's that one piece that I want to make sure that they would really understand that you've learned as a young adult?
Let yourself experience something. Whether you feel like it's going to be good for yourself or you feel like it's just going to be something that you're just going to do. And I say that because you never know what opportunity can bring you. I know, like, I've always ever wanted to work with you guys when I was in high school. So I got to do my internship with you guys my senior year. But, like, other than that, like, jobs that, like, you don't think you would do, be open to experiencing it. Or just, like, in general, whether that's an activity, be open to experience it because you never know what it can bring you. Be open to it. So with the class, like, you might think it's just a class, but be open to becoming part of the Elevate family because you don't know what it's going to bring you. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Calvin, what's something you think you want to ask Mariana?
What are some concerns you have for Indianapolis that are causing barriers to young people thriving?
Yeah, if you survey the city, and you've been raised here your whole life, obviously South Side, but what's the biggest concern for you that people that are watching, listening, that they need to hear from your voice?
For me, is what are you showing the kids? And I mean that as coming from an aunt, a cousin, a sister, a teacher, as the biggest part. We're going in and I remember when I was in 4th grade talking about Barbie dolls. Our 4th graders know stuff that when I was in 4th grade, high schoolers only knew. So it's, what are you letting your kids be open to? Because yes, we're getting older, the day and age, it's the 21st century, obviously, so these kids have phones. But as a parent, what are you allowing your child to know? And does your child understand it, or is it just because they know? I think that's really concerning for me, just for the simple fact is because, like, you're 9, honey, you shouldn't know what that is. So it's to a point where it's like, do we look at the community or do we look at the individual families? For me, I look at all of it, for the simple fact is because it takes a village to raise a kid. Whether that's one kid or multiple kids, it takes a village. So what is a village? What are you allowing the child to see or experience? So
it's good. No, that's a good word. I think I'm a foster parent, as you may remember.
Yeah.
And we're foster parents in our house, and I'm never surprised, and I'm always surprised still yet at the stuff that kids have gone through often to land in the system. And I'd gotten some texts this week about a potential placement and the situation around the young lady, and I was just like, we couldn't receive her. It's just not a fit right now for kind of our own house dynamics. But I was very just heart-struck of just that a 9-year-old girl has to have gone through that.
Yeah, it's very surprising. If you know me, I have like that very much of a like mother, older sister, aunt vibe. Like, I'm going to love you no matter who you are and what you do. But I look at it as like, even as a teacher, like at some point I'm with your kids every single day for majority of their life. Why does a 9-year-old have to know that? Or just thinking about things of not just that, but like some of the stuff that the kids are seeing online. Or like, I remember when my mom used to let us go downtown, but we always had my older sibling with me. So like, where's your boundaries and everything? It's just sad seeing these young kids going through or knowing certain things.
That's really good. So transition out, what would you say? So those are obviously just powerful concerns, but what would you say to make our city a better place to be cultivating more thriving, more contributing young people? You're talking to city officials and business leaders and foundations that have funding and all of that. 2025 has been a whole lot's going on this year. But if you would say, like, what would you want to say to see that this city needs to address this, from a city level, maybe not just at the individual level, that maybe people don't understand or don't understand enough, that as a young adult that you've observed?
I think as a teacher, I automatically think about kids, because they're going to be our next generation no matter what or who. They're going to be the ones that are going to be leading the world at some point. So it's like the youth crime, I guess, is the big one. And I think that comes from the lack of willingness and engagement from the community or even our higher ups of trying to get the kids in to things. Like, for example, like the defunding of like certain stuff, like that affects the kids way more than it affects the other people that are involved with it. Like, the kids get affected from it because what are they supposed to do after that? Like, I know right now, like a lot of schools are trying to figure out ways to do certain stuff due to like school timing moving. And then they have like that short period of time after school. Like, is it enough for sports or something like that? So it's just like that interest of like what kids is like, these kids get placed in these situations because they have nowhere else to go, and then they're just there. So it's, how can we benefit the youth in these ways? As in, why can't we give them more? You guys do a wonderful job along with a lot of the other not-for-profits, but there's so many communities that still don't have that access, whether that's like anywhere. I think that's a big one. not even just for Indiana, but anywhere in the U.S. Of just like, why is it always the first cut for like schooling or education? The kids always get that fault, which is a really big one, and where leads the kids, like once they don't have nowhere to go, a lot of the times it leads to them being in situations that we don't find ideally for them.
That's great. Thank you.
I think I answered it.
You were great. Thank you, Mariana. We appreciate you as obviously alumni who are thriving and contributing. Senior year in college. That's amazing.
I know you've known me since I was 12.
My goodness. All right. Can't wait to see that graduation stage. So, Calvo, great job. Appreciate you as well. All of our guests, join in on the next episode as we get the spotlight. But obviously want to thank Mariana, and thanks Calvin. Thanks our guests for listening and watching. Follow, like, share, pass along. Join on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to 10 years of long-term life-changing legacy of Elevate. The stories you've heard remind us that lasting change happens through long-term relationships, and that no one gets there alone. As we celebrate our 10th anniversary, we invite you to join us in shaping the next decade of impact. Be part of our 50 in 10 campaign by helping us add 50 new recurring donors during this milestone year. You can also add Elevate to your planned giving or volunteer to invest directly in the lives of Indianapolis students. Learn more and get involved at elevateindy.org. Together, we can continue building long-term life-changing legacies.